Hello, Chelsea fans of the internet. I'm your local blue here, and today we are going to discuss the big victory against Tottenham Hotspur, which ended 1-0, and we scored a penalty for once, which was surprising to say the least because Jorginho is usually the one who missed the penalties, but now he actually scored, and now we're back on form to be on the top six by the end of the season. Not top six, top four. Top four. We want to be top four, all right? We want to be in the Champions League, and that was a priority that we wanted in this game. And I feel like after this performance, despite it not being the best performance by Chelsea, it was it was a comfortable win. All right, we did enough. We did enough, and even that, when I say enough, I'm not including I'm not implying that we created chances that had shots on target. I don't think we did any of that today. In fact, there were many times when we were just crossing it between our wingers. Sometimes it'd be like moments like where Werner would cross it at James, and then James, having nothing to do, would either play it back or lose the ball, or even cross it back to Werner, which would end up nowhere. So like our game plan was very confusing at times. That's how I perceived it, at least. Um, in terms of our build up to these attacks, though, it was perfect as usual. It was a good transition. Whenever we had the ball, it was a good transition between the defenders to the midfielders, and the midfielders would always be the ones pushing up and causing mayhem for Tottenham. But in terms of our final third, it's very lacking, and this is a problem that we've seen across the past two games, especially in the Wolves game, where we were severely lacking in the final third. And I felt like today was the same case, where we go against a team with a good structure, a good defense, and it is because Tottenham did play for a majority of the game. They did park the bus. I mean, it is Mourinho style. Like we used to do it under him, and it's just like the way he plays. The way he uses his team, he usually does park the bus whenever he knows that the attack of the other team is stupendous. So it was very difficult for a majority of the game, and I wouldn't say even after we got the penalty, we weren't really looking to score a second goal. We were trying, but it didn't really look like we were gonna get a second goal anytime soon because the Tottenham were just so compact, and for some reason we lacked the creativity, and that's why for me personally, I feel like I would have started different players. I would have started Havertz. I would have started Ziyech. I don't know if Ziyech is injured actually, but I would have started Pulisic in fact. And if you look back in if you look back at my live stream, which I did, video will be down in the description. If you look back, I was basically like crying for Pulisic to basically come on because we needed someone who could just cut inside the Tottenham defense, and we needed someone to just take a shot on target for once because that was severely lacking throughout that entire game. But we're gonna get into the game right away, and we are going to discuss the players that played in that game. I am going to bring up the lineup right now. Okay, starting off with Mendy, who was didn't really have much to do throughout that entire game because let's be honest, Tottenham were just as lacking in the final third as much as we were because we were making attacks yet we weren't going anywhere, and that was the same thing for Tottenham. But at times they looked even more deadlier than us. They looked like they could have actually just put a ball through, and next thing you know we would have conceded a goal, but luckily that didn't happen. And what should I call it? Mendy really didn't have much to do that entire game, if I'm being completely honest. There was maybe two times when Tottenham had a chance, but it was always wide. It was never on target, and I don't think Mendy really had any other saves to do besides the one where it was just like the Tottenham players, whenever they did have a shot on target, it was usually just Adams, so it was pretty comfortable for him for a majority of the game. And I would say that despite him not necessarily being having to do a lot of saves today, I think his performance is still good nonetheless because that means we've gone 3 games with a clean sheet, and that's obviously something very impressive. It's a streak that Mendy has been. It's a streak that Mendy's lost over the past few games, especially during the December era, where we were conceding goals after goals, and it's just good to see now that our defense, our defense is as impressive as it was at the beginning of the season, and we saw that today. And now I just want to go on to the defense right now. So going on to Azpilicueta, Azpilicueta, very influential in that game today. As I said in my live stream, he's always someone who can always find the right balls and always put people through, and that's what got us the penalty because he was able to find Werner, and Werner, as much as people wouldn't credit him for getting the penalty, he was able to just position himself so then Dyer could just aim for his ankles, and that helped us. That helped us get the win. But overall, that all started from Azpilicueta, so you have to give props to Azpilicueta. And overall, he was just magnificent again. He was always stopping people from beating him. There was some times where he made some bold moves and rash challenges, but he was class again today, and he was a big reason why we ended up winning because he was able to help us win that penalty. Now moving on to Rudiger. Rudiger was tough. All right, Rudiger sometimes looks like whatchamacallit. He and Thiago Silva were trying to play it out to the wings because that was something that we saw early on before Thiago Silva got injured. They were trying to play it out the wings, and it looked like for Rudiger, he couldn't do it. Thiago Silva was able, in one instance, Thiago Silva was able to pass it to, I think, Warner on the left. And then when Rudiger tries to do a similar thing, I think on the right side, it didn't come as planned. So, other than that, Rudiger did his job as center back. As I said again, Tottenham weren't really pressuring us, so I would say it was calm for our defense, our center backs, and our goalkeeper. But I would say Rudiger did okay. Thiago Silva, before he got injured, he was pretty good. As usual, he's always someone who tries to play in the middle, and we have that pivot between Kovacic and Jorginho in the back, and he always tries to find those people, but whenever he can't, he's always so calm on the ball, and he's not afraid to just ping the ball to a winger. He's not afraid to ping the ball to. He's good at crossing, basically. So that's the little that we saw of Thiago Silva before he was unfortunately taken off for Christensen after that small injury where he it was brave what he did too. He basically just lunged his body forward and just kicked the ball out, but unfortunately he got injured in the process. So I think that's what made the latter stages of the game so hectic, because we were missing his presence, and especially when the crosses were coming in from Tottenham whenever they had a set piece. We couldn't expect someone like Thiago Silva, because Christensen was on. We couldn't expect Christensen to head the ball out, which is what might have cost us at the end, because we saw that one of the players, I think either Vinicius or Bergwijn, headed the ball, and if it was on target, we probably would have ended 1-1, but luckily we didn't. Now moving on to Reece James. Reece James was very important in his pairing with Hudson-Odoi. Those two were basically playing with each other. One of them would always be overlapping the other, and honestly, that's where most of our attempts came from. It was between that right side of the pitch, and those two worked really well. They were basically finding each other every single time, and as much as it didn't lead to any actual success, that's something good to see whenever your fullback and your wingers are just linking up so crucial. And if we were just a little bit smarter with the crossing, and people were actually open in the box, then it could have been a very different result. But as much as we were playing on the wings, it was pretty redundant for most of the game, because we were just making it harder for us to actually do anything with the ball. It's as soon as we were on the flanks, we really didn't do anything else. We just had the ball on the flanks, and there'd be times when Reece, for example, had the ball on the flank. Instead of just crossing it, he'd play it back to Hudson-Odoi, and then those two would just keep on playing it back into each other's feet until eventually one of them lost the ball, and that was something that frustrated me a lot. But overall, James did his what he had to do. He was overlapping, he was putting it crosses, something that we always expect from him. And yeah, moving on to Kovacic. Kovacic again, very very lethal in the attacks. He was always pressing forward, and he's always skillfully being able to turn people over. He's always able to evade people, and he's always the one always pushing the defense back because of how much he actually presses forward. And I was impressed with Kovacic again today. And there was one time though, there was one time where he was in on goal. He did the right thing. He does what I ask for basically any player on this team. Whenever there's space, you just take it. You just run, and he did take it. And I was just at that moment, I thought he had enough space on the left side to just shoot it in and score. But unfortunately, he drags the shot wide. And in hindsight, he should have passed it to Werner, who was patiently waiting on the left. And if he just played that ball to Werner, I was pretty sure that maybe we could have scored and made it 2-0. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And I think that's something that really bothered other Chelsea fans watching this game. He had the opportunity to score, but he just didn't take it. Or he made the wrong decision and took the shot for himself instead of passing it to either Werner or I think Hudson-Odoi on the right was available to him as well. I'm not too sure. But yeah, overall, Kovacic, pretty good in my opinion. Jorginho was good again, and if you consider how influential he is, passing it forward and finding he finds people basically. He'll find those empty pockets of space, and he'll find where people are, and he'll play into people who are basically like by themselves, and that does help with the counterattacks. But again, he did his job well, but at the same time, I think many fans are gonna be basically confused because there's already like an agenda against Jorginho, you could say, that most Chelsea fans have, like asking, what does he provide in this team? What is it? I think he basically like facilitates all of our passing. I feel like whatchamacallit, people are always like, oh well, all he does is just passing and blah 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 blah. That's all he can do, right? Well, if you consider the stats, like we're able to complete so many passes probably because of him. And not only that, he's always finding those key passes that actually lead to a counterattack. Yeah, so overall, Jorginho did well. And obviously, he was the one who scored the penalty. Very calm, especially when you're someone who's missed many penalties this season and you're expected to take the penalty again. He was very calm, in my opinion. And you know what? He deserves, out of all the players, he deserves some praise. He deserves the most praise, actually, because he was under a lot of pressure, and I was feeling that pressure when I saw him take up that penalty. So luckily, things went well for him, and we got the dub because of him. So now going on to Alonso. We were all expecting Alonso to do bits against Tottenham, but Alonso was just like chilling, bro. He was just chilling on the flank, and he would link up occasionally with Werner, and there'd be times when those two played pretty well. But there was also another time when he committed a rash challenge and got himself booked. I think the foul was on Ndombele. I think so. But other than that, Alonso really didn't offer much. I didn't really see him. He wasn't as apparent as I'd like him to be. So if the debates are between Alonso and Chilwell for the left back, I would rather see Chilwell play in the next game because I feel like Chilwell does offer something else more than Alonso, which is the reason why we bought him, right? And we definitely weren't as strong on the left flank as we were on the right flank. That's for sure. So I don't know what to say for Alonso. He could have offered more, but you know he did what he could. And moving on to Mount's again the key player in this Chelsea team. He's always the one who's checking in the midfield. He was playing like that number 10 role again, and he was finding a way to play within his other teammates. Like there'd be times when James and Hudson-Odoi would be on the right side, and he joined them, and they would all basically play between each other, and it was just very interesting to see how much Mount implemented himself into this game. And yeah, overall, very good by Mount, and he's always someone who's able to find key passes as well, kind of like Jorginho. So it's a combination of skill and passing when it comes to Mount, but overall, yeah, very good for him. Now going on to Timo Werner. He did take a few shots, so that's good. He did take a few shots on goal, but unfortunately, none of them actually found the net. It ended up hitting a Tottenham player more times than once. So I take it as you will, but he's getting shots. Now we just need to see how he does whenever the next time he gets the next in the next game. We're gonna have to just see how he's gonna approach the challenges that he faces whenever he's just trying to take a shot, because it was obvious to me that he could have easily just got 3 shots on target instead of hitting a Tottenham player. But yeah, I would say it's another disappointing performance by Timo, because we all have high expectations for him. He's basically been playing the same way ever since like December, so that's very concerning. I do hope that he can get his form back eventually, because the way that we played today wasn't the best, and I would consider that to be mostly because of Timo. He's expected to be the one who creates all the chances and takes all the shots, but that wasn't enough. I didn't see enough of that in this game, and there was times when he had opportunities to take on a man and cut inside, and that's why when I wasn't seeing it from Werner, I eventually wanted Pulisic to come onto the pitch, because we know Pulisic can do that as well. Yeah, overall, not the best performances from Timo Werner again, and I don't know how the fan base is going to react at this point, because we have Tammy, Giroud, and Werner, and which out of those three would you prefer? So it's really a tough question to ask, and but I feel like Werner will eventually come up. He'll eventually get his stride again. We just don't know when. All right, now moving on to Hudson-Odoi. Hudson-Odoi again was dangerous on the flank with Reece James. As I mentioned before, he and Reece James were a very good pairing on the flank. Other than the few, but other than the few link-ups he had with Reece James, I wouldn't say he was as impactful as he was in the game against Burnley. Mostly because Burnley is a different side than Tottenham. So obviously, you expect Tottenham to park the bus much more effectively. And there was times when James and Reece were just very confused. We know that Hudson-Odoi likes to cut inside, but unfortunately he didn't do that today. And I wasn't expecting him to cut inside, because I think he is a right-footed player. So like if he did cut inside, he would have to take a shot with his left, which is coming from a right-footed player myself. Yeah, that's obviously going to be something difficult if you're not comfortable with your left. So other than that, standard performance from Hudson-Odoi, nothing impressive. And that basically goes for the whole team. It wasn't an impressive performance, but it was enough. It was enough to get the 3 points. And honestly, that's more important to me than any kind of performance right now, because this was a performance that we needed. Not a performance. These were the points that we needed in this game, and they ended up coming towards us. So very happy for that. If you checked my live stream, you could definitely see that. Going on to Christensen, he did enough. He just replaced Silva, and he didn't really offer anything more other than just be the placeholder for Silva after he was injured. I think if you do support the Andres Christensen Hive on Twitter, #ACHive, and you know what, you're like basically like popping out the champagne. You're just like, woo, Christensen, come on. But yeah, obviously it wasn't very impressive. So if you do rep Christensen, I guess you got like your moment to shine. You were very ecstatic when he probably came on the pitch, but he didn't really offer anything else, if I'm being completely honest. My sound, my voice sounds kind of dead, because I was streaming for basically 2 hours, so I do tend to lose my voice after this. Yeah, so pardons if I do sound a little bit dead, but my throat is dead. So who else? Conte, and this is like the most concerning thing for me. Like out of all the players, like he's the one that concerns me the most, because we know Conte is class, all right? We all experience great moments with Conte. He is a fantastic player, but there were just many times when he just in the short amount of time he was, it's not like he was playing like the entire half or something, the entire second half. He was only there for about half an hour, but in the short time I saw, like, he was just losing the ball. He really wasn't able to knock the ball away from Tottenham players. He wasn't able to take possession of the ball, and it's an aspect of the game that I really miss from him. Yeah, so there was also one time where he had the ball. And then he decides to just hold on to it, and eventually a Tottenham player just takes it from him, and he became very reckless and just ended up slide tackling him, and he got himself booked. So it's just there's definitely an aspect of his game that he's missing, and just like Werner, I have no idea when those changes are gonna come. So if I were to choose, I would probably stay with Jorginho and Kovacic as the pivot until Conte finds his form again, or unless Jorginho finds some sort of uh, key, like maintains his key effect in the team or something like that. I don't know. Like basically, he just remains impactful, or he becomes more impactful, because definitely people want to see more from him. So yeah, that's my whole stance on the Conte Jorginho issue. Um, Pulisic was very bright. I would say he was the main. He was basically the catalyst for all the chances we had as soon as he came on. Whatchamacallit. Pulisic linked up very well with the players, and there were times when he was just like very threatening. He looked very lethal. But obviously he was only on the pitch for a certain amount of time, and considering the rest of the team was basically dead, because after like minute 70 we weren't really creating anything else. We were just kind of waiting. We were just waiting to see this out, to see the game out. And yeah, just another standard performance. Like, it's either, for me, this team was either average or, lacking in certain things. So that's why I'm not necessarily too happy with the performance, but I am happy with the 3 points. All right, I am very happy with the 3 points, because we really need that, man. We really need those 3 points. And yeah, I was just very ecstatic after the final whistle blew. So basically, where we are right now in the table, it is very important right now, because we are in 6th place with around 36 to 39 points. I forgot what was the exact number, but we are now basically back in the top 4 race. Like, you would have whatchamacallit, many people were already doubting us if we were even going to get top 6 this season. Well, we're basically shortening the margin between us and the top 4. And if you're asking my personal opinion, we will get top 4 if we do win the next matches. And I'm not saying like tie or lose. We need to win the next matches. We need to win like at least another 3 or 4 matches in a row if we want to be on form. And especially when you consider the upcoming Champions League game against Atletico Madrid, we definitely need to up the ante. We need to definitely get our form back, because as much as we want to praise Tuchel for, and I give him credit too, as much as we praise Tuchel for instilling this new mindset in Chelsea, and the football definitely does look better, at least better than it was with Lampard. We definitely need to improve in certain aspects. Players themselves need to pick up their form again. In terms of tactics, we definitely look very solid in shape and formation. There wasn't a single time when Tottenham actually looked like they were on goal or something. But in terms of our final third, which is something that we very much lack, we do need to improve it if we want to manage. If we want to be a tough opposition to Atletico Madrid. So that is definitely something that we need to be concerned about in the future. But anyway, guys, I am just so happy with the win. I am going to celebrate. I am going to just chillax. I am just going to, put my fists up basically for the rest of the day, because I am just happy that Chelsea won. And that's it from me, basically. I've been your local blue. Follow my Twitter at your local blue. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.